sixth grade production of Only You was a really fun project, and I learned a lot doing it. So some of you have asked a bit about how we put it together, so in this video I'm going to describe the process. So in the first part, I'll talk a bit about the structure of the song and how we broke it down into the various instrumental parts. Then I'll show you how I made the scores and generated other materials for the musicians, Shinran, Jillian, Ria, and Justin, and also talk a bit about the software that I used. Then in the last part, I'll talk a little bit about the recording process itself. Okay, let's start. Only You was originally written in A major, but we transposed it to C major so it fit the vocalist's vocal range better, and also because it'd be easier for the instrumentists to play. It follows an A-B-A-B structure where it goes verse, chorus, instrumental chorus, verse, chorus. Instrumentally, I broke the song down into 4 parts, which get layered on one at a time as the song progresses. Now, I think that's a really nice effect because the song starts out sounding quite bare and stark with a very mechanical sounding synth riff, and later on it gets more and more like lush and rich. So the first part, which I scored for the violin, opens the song and is an arpeggiated A chord, which sounds a bit like this. And this is how Shinran ended up playing it. So this part opens the song and continues all the way to the end, following the chord changes in the verse, from an A, E on a G sharp, F sharp minor, E, D, then A, E, and finally resolving back to the A at the beginning of the next verse. So this part is really the heart of the entire song. The second part, also scored for the violin, starts with the vocals 4 measures into the song. Again, it's an arpeggiated chord, but this time it's much more flashy, and it sounds a little bit like this.
Looking from a window above, it's like a story of love. Can you hear me?
So this is how Shinran played it. So Shinran did a really good job and helped anchor the backing track for the rest of the song. So the third part is the bass line, which comes in at the end of the first chorus. We scored it for the cello, and you'll hear the part right after the words Only You. So here's Jillian on the cello. So the fourth and final part is the drums, which kicks in at the end of the second verse. You'll hear it here right after the words, When I See You.
When I see you, all I needed was the love you gave.
So it's a very simple drum part, which consists of just a snare and a hi-hat. Now you hear my brother, Justin, playing over there.
When I see you, all I needed was the love you gave.
Now, these 4 parts, the 2 violin arpeggios, the bass line played by the cello, and the drums, they all start at different points, but they continue to the end of the song, and they form the backing track for the vocals. Now, there were 2 other instrumental parts which we had to score out. The first was a duet between the violinist and the cellist during the instrumental section. So here's a clip of Shinran and Jillian playing that. So secondly, during the third verse, the cello plays quite a nice counterpoint melody to the vocalists, which sounds a bit like this.
This is gonna take a long time, and I wonder what's mine. Can't take no more.
So here's a clip of Jillian playing that. So that's the structure of the instrumental. Now I'm going to show you how we generated the scores for the violins and the cellos. This is me a few months ago on GarageBand. I'm trying to listen to the song and isolate the first violin arpeggio part.
Back only yesterday. Came back only yesterday.
Here I'm working on the duet part. Once I transcribed all of the parts into MIDI in GarageBand, I then transposed them from A major to C major, which is really simple. You just have to drag them up by 3 semitones. After that, I converted them into scores by using an online program called Noteflight. This was a little bit tricky because some of the notes were a little bit above or a little bit below the range of the violin and the cello, so I had to take that into consideration as well. So the last bit of preparation that we had to do before the recording sessions was to put together these guide tracks for the vocalists to practice to. And this is because there's harmony in the song. Now the harmony occurs around the chorus, where the person singing the main melody goes, while the person singing vocal harmony sings the third above. So what they sing is, so here's a clip of Justin and Ria doing that.
All I needed was the love you gave. All I needed for another day.
So this is what those guide tracks sound like.
Closed door. All I needed was the love you gave.
So you can hear that on the right ear, there's a harmony part, and on the left ear, you get the original track. The reason why I did this is that so the person can practice by selecting what they want to listen to. So by the way, you can tell that the original track has been transposed from A major to C major because the vocals sound quite chipmunky. Now we did this by using an online conversion tool called conversiontool.com, which allows you to upload an audio file and you can select how many semitones you want to raise or lower the pitch by. You can also do the same thing with an open source software called FFmpeg. So the recording process itself was actually a little bit more complicated than I expected. So we recorded the violin and the cello first so we could make a backing track for the vocalist to sing to, and we had to feed them a metronome so they would be able to keep time. And we did this through an earphone because we were miking their instruments up with really sensitive microphones, and if we had played the metronome aloud, it would have been picked up by those microphones and it would have been included in the recordings. So after we recorded the parts, I put them together into a backing track using FL Studio, and I used Logic Pro X to clean up some of their timing issues or pitch issues. To record the vocalists, we played the backing track using a small speaker, which we put quite far away from the microphones, and we recorded the drums last. I want to thank all 4 6th graders for their participation in this project. I think Sinran and Jillian did a really excellent job. They must have practiced a lot because they're very comfortable with their parts and they played excellently. Special thanks to Ria, who was not only an excellent singer and had really great harmonic instinct, like she didn't even need to use the guide tracks that we made, but also because she was really responsive and really mature and overall a pleasure to work with. Also special thanks to my brother Justin, who was unfortunate enough to be conscripted into this project because he was the closest 6th grader that I had access to. I think he did a really excellent job considering the fact that he's neither a trained vocalist nor a trained drummer. So overall, I hope everyone had fun.